All right, let's talk about something that probably keeps a lot of us up at night, losing your absolute best customers, the high value ones. And I'm going to tell you the reason they're heading for the exit, it's almost certainly not what you think it is.
So, really, why does this happen? How do these relationships that are so profitable, so crucial to our business, just fizzle out? You might immediately think, oh, it's got to be about price, or maybe we messed up one delivery. But the source material for this explainer shows us that's rarely the real story.
Things like price complaints or a service slip up, they're usually just symptoms. They're the final straw, not the root cause. The real breakdown happens way, way before that final awkward phone call. It actually starts with a huge mistake in how we plan, or more accurately, how we fail to plan.
And that gets us right to the heart of the problem. I call it the strategy versus tactic trap. See, so many companies are completely buried in the day-to-day tactics, just trying to hit this month's numbers, this quarter's forecast, and in doing that, they totally lose sight of the long-term game plan for their most important clients. They're looking at a sales forecast and thinking it's a strategy. It's not. And listen to this quote. This isn't some academic theory. This came from a senior financial manager at Unilever, talking about a real-life disaster. Can you believe it? They were spending £500 million a year on budgeting. And what did it get them? It created a culture where everyone was just trying to hit the easiest possible target. The whole process was inward-looking and was literally damaging their business from the inside. And this chart just lays it out perfectly. Look at the difference. Your typical budget, it's all about looking inward. It's about short-term targets. And the goal is basically to hold people's feet to the fire. But a real strategic plan, that's focused on the market, on the outside world. It's about setting a long-term direction. And the goal isn't to punish, it's to help people win by focusing your resources where they can have the biggest impact. It's a totally different ballgame.
So the big question is, how do we get out of this trap? Well, it takes a whole new way of thinking. It's what we call the key account mindset. And this isn't just some new sales buzzword. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how your entire business thinks about its most important customers.
Which brings us to the formal definition of key account management, or CAM. Now pay attention to the words here, because they matter. It's an integrated process for managing relationships profitably for the long term. This is not a quick sales campaign. The two most important words there are integrated and long-term. I love this analogy from the source material. Key account management is as different from traditional selling as chalk is from cheese. If you think CAM is just about being a better salesperson, you are completely missing the point. They are two fundamentally different things. And here's why. A true key account manager isn't really a salesperson. They're more like a general manager of a small business, where their entire market is just one customer. Think about that. They need to be good at strategic planning, they have to understand financial analysis, and have a really deep understanding of business to actually help that one customer succeed. Okay, so it's one thing to talk about changing your mindset, right? But how do you actually do it? Well, the great thing is that the CALM approach comes with a whole new toolkit with some really powerful strategic tools to help you get focused. So let's look at one, the directional policy matrix. This isn't just a list of your biggest customers by revenue. No, this is about getting strategic. You look at two things. How attractive is the account, their profit potential, their growth, and you weigh that against how strong your relationship is with them. A client in that top left box, that's where you make a major strategic investment. But one in the bottom right, you might just manage that account for cash. This tool forces you to be intentional about where you spend your time and your money. Now, the ultimate goal here is to change the very nature of the relationship. Most customer relationships start out as what's called a bow tie. It's just your salesperson talking to their buyer. It is super fragile. If either of those two people leave their job, the whole relationship can just fall apart. The goal of KAM is to move from that to a deeply integrated partnership with connections at all levels of both companies. Your logistics team talks to their logistics team. Your finance team talks to theirs. When you get there, you've built what are called high exit barriers. It becomes really hard for them to leave, not because they're trapped, but because you're a genuine partner. And why does all this matter so much? Because when you think strategically, you stop thinking about this month's sale, and you start thinking about numbers like this one, $10.5 million. Now, that is not a sales forecast. That's the potential total future profit, the lifetime value that just one key account could bring to your business. And that concept, customer lifetime value, is a total game changer. It forces you to stop thinking about one-off transactions and start thinking about the long game.
Once you truly understand the lifetime value of a customer, you stop making dumb, short-sighted decisions, and you start making smart investments in the health of that relationship.
So all of this, it brings us right back to you. This isn't just some interesting business theory. This is a direct challenge to how you're managing your most valuable assets, your customers. So I'm going to ask you straight up, what is your plan for your most important customer? And I don't mean your sales target for them. I don't mean your forecast. I mean, what is your actual strategic, multi-year plan to grow with them? Because if the only plan you have is a number typed into a spreadsheet, you're not just failing to plan. You might actually be planning to fail. And you know who will notice first? Your best customers.